This video will demonstrate the installation of a vertical Magnacore for hollow bar element. The methodology demonstrated in this video will be consistent across the entire size range of the Magnacore product line. With any underground operation, it is important to first verify that no existing utilities or obstructions exist below the location of planned element installation. You have to call in your own utilities. Don't rely on someone else to call it in for you. Another common safety concern is overhead utilities. Be sure that the proper distance is maintained between equipment and utilities at all times, especially if they carry power. As with any construction project, ensure that you and your crew are wearing appropriate personal protective equipment for the work being performed. Special consideration should be taken for the individual operating the grout plant. Cement dust can be very hazardous if inhaled, so it is critical to wear a dust mask while operating the grout plant. Also, clean any cementitious materials off the skin immediately. It can leave chemical burns if left on the skin for too long. Once all safety concerns have been discussed, it is time to begin with installation. The first step to a successful Magnacore installation is proper material staging. It is important to have the bars nearby and organized in such a manner that it will be easy to keep track of how many segments have been installed. Group the bars on a per pile basis based on their anticipated length. The use of form oil prior to installation will ensure that cleanup at the end of the day is easy. Liberally apply form oil to the drill and grout plant. Do not apply form oil to the standing platform of the grout plant, as this can be a slip and fall hazard. Also, do not apply any form oil to the bars, as this will prohibit a proper bond with the grout. When material is staged and you are ready for installation, you may now begin to mix grout. A typical structural grout mix uses 5 gallons of water per 194-pound bag of cement. This results in a water to cement ratio of 0.44 and typically results in a 7-day compressive strength of 5,000 psi. A flushing grout mix can also be used, and a mix will be determined by the engineer prior to installation. In the case of using a flushing grout, the flushing grout should be swapped for a structural grout on the last bar segment. It is important to make sure that you have a steady supply of potable water and cement on site. When mixing grout, it is important to ensure the colloidal mixer is turned on and you are circulating the grout through it and back into the mixing tank. The colloidal mixture ensures there are no large particles that have the potential to clog the bit. To ensure the proper ratio of grout and water has been achieved, a mud balance can be used. The mud balance must be cleaned prior to and after use. Fill the cup with a sample of your grout and place the lid on. You will know that the cup is properly filled if grout comes out of the vent hole on top. Wipe off any excess grout and slide the scale over until it is balanced. A typical structural grout mix will have a specific gravity between 1.8 and 1.9. If your mix is less than 1.8, you do not have sufficient cement. If your mix is higher than 1.9, you are using too much cement. In some instances, grout cubes can be taken and sent to a lab for testing. Your target values for grout-specific gravity and compressive strength should be established and communicated to the field personnel before the job begins. You can now send the grout to the second tank by operating the lever that pinches the line. This process may vary with different grout plants. At this point, you can begin installation of your element. It is critical that an anti-seize compound such as a copper coat is liberally applied to every connection to ensure that you will be able to disconnect the components to add additional sections as necessary. Once copper coat has been applied, you can now thread your first section of bar onto the drill. Your first section of bar should also have your bit installed on the end. An important note regarding threading material together is that all Magnacore bars are reversed or left-handed threaded. All drilling advancement should be done with grout being pumped through the bar. If the grout plant operator is far away from the drillers, the use of radios may be necessary to instruct the grout plant operator on when to turn the pump on and off. The pump should always be turned on while drilling. Once the pump has been turned on and grout is flowing through the bit, you can now begin to advance your bar. You should ensure that the bar is spinning with grout return and coming out of your hole at all times while advancing. In some instances, you may be required to pump these spoils off-site. With the bar spinning and grout pumping through, you can now advance your first section of bar. While the bar is advancing, you may need to operate the hammer if there are any obstructions not allowing your drill to penetrate through the soil or if rock is encountered for a rock socket. Ensure the flow rate of the pump is such that you have sufficient return, but not so much that it is wasteful. Once you have advanced the bar all the way and plunged the hole 3 to 5 times, this ensures a proper annulus filled with grout has been achieved. This is also additional protection against your hole caving in. When the installation of your first section has been completed, you must inform the grout plant operator to turn the pump off so you can add additional sections of bar. Communication can be as simple as saying pump off and pump on. With the first section of bar advanced to the pump turned off, close the lower jaws onto the coupler and spin the drill in reverse to break the first connection free to add an additional section of bar. Apply copper coat to the striker bar and thread your new section of bar on by hand. Lower the drill until you are sitting on the coupler of the additional section of bar and spin the drill to thread all elements tightly together. With all the copper coated connections made for your second bar segment, instruct the grout pump operator to turn the pump on. Do not advance until you see grout return coming out of your hole. Repeat this process until you have met your designed length or designed rock socket length. Once you have met your designed length, plunge the hole 10 times on the last section to ensure a proper annulus for the grout into the bearing stratum. You can then disconnect the bar by reversing your drill out. Clean exposed threads off from any grout to ensure that the plate and nut can be threaded on without complication. Cut off excess pile as necessary for planned pile elevation. In a compression-only application, only one nut underneath the plate will be required. In a tension application, the plate will be sandwiched between two nuts. Install your first nut such that the termination plate will be at the correct elevation and slide your plate over the bar. Lock off with additional tension nut where required. There are several different bar sizes available. Each bar size has a load range where it is the most cost-effective. It is important to size your bar appropriately for your job and to use the correct installation equipment to handle that bar type. Different bit types will be more advantageous in different applications. Clay bits are for use in soft profiles with no rock socket. Crosscut bits are used when you are doing a rock socket that is shallow or into soft shales. Button bits are for long rock sockets or rock sockets into a hard rock such as limestone or dolomite. Using the correct bit type for your application could mean time savings in the last segment of bar being installed. At the end of the workday, it is critical to clean grout out of all the components. Flush water through the system until you see clean water coming out of the striker bar. Be sure to circulate water through both tanks and through the colloidal mixer to ensure everything is clean and free of grout. The pump should also be disassembled and cleaned off.